book is all connected by the sewers. That's where it lives. What happened?
If you'll come with me, you'll float too. You'll float too. You'll float too. You'll float too. You'll float too.
Aloha! This is Trinidad, the Island Man, your Island Man, coming to you live once again from beautiful Hawaii, here on the island of Oahu, giving you, yes you, okay, yes, even that guy over there in the back. Yeah, buddy, I'm talking to you. Giving you the best movie reviews here on the entire island of Oahu. And yes, remember, this is Trinidad, the Island Man, your Island Man. And today, I'm talking about a movie that I saw last night, Friday night, called It. Now, this is Stephen King's It movie based on his book, one of his best-selling books. Horror master, classic, Stephen King. Now, for those of you old enough to remember, there was a mini-series on TV. I think it was ABC that had done It as a mini-series on TV. I forget how many episodes it might have had. I'm not sure. I didn't watch it, but it starred Tim Curry as the clown Pennywise in that TV series. And from what I had heard and from the reviews that I remember way back then, over 10 years ago, it was still a pretty good and pretty reliable transition from the book. But we are now talking about the movie, and remember our rating scale. Shock a thumbs up. It's good to see. I recommend it. Shock a thumbs down. It's bad to see. It's junk. I don't recommend it. And, well, for the 2017 book adaptation of Stephen King's It, the horror classic It, is a shock a thumbs up. This was an enjoyable movie as far as horror movies go. And a very strong one. Now, I've never read the book. I didn't see the previous miniseries on TV about it. But from all the talking during the movie from my fellow audience members, they did say that it was pretty true to the book, that the parts of these things that happen in the movie do reflect what happens in the book. So in that case, it is true to the book, and everyone was pretty well satisfied with it. Now, former box office predictions had this movie at $50 million for the opening weekend, but because Thursday night was packed and the positive review, and even yesterday when I saw the movie on Friday night, the actual start of the weekend, it was also packed, and I saw the 9 o'clock showing and it was packed, and the one previous to that I was going to see, the 8 o'clock, was sold out. So they have increased their box office predictions up to, based on Thursday nights being packed, they had said that they had increased the box office predictions to $75 million. Now, as of Saturday, based on $50 million gained on Friday night alone, in addition to whatever they had gotten on Thursday, it is now estimated and predicted to be $100 million opening for It, which is more than any other Stephen King movie had done. Now, again, a strong shock a thumbs up for this movie. If you like horror movies, if you like Stephen King, if you were disappointed with Annabelle, if you liked Annabelle, you will like this movie that much more. Because it is very well done. It is a true adaptation from the book, not like that crap that Dark Tower was previously, whatever that was. I only wish that, you know, the same people who had worked on this movie could have worked on the Dark Tower, you know, and brought it justice there. But again, shock a thumbs up for it. It is a good movie to pay full price for, but you definitely can't go wrong with the $7 on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday at Consolidated, or even the $6 at Regal on Tuesday. You know, there is a bit of a build-up towards it. There is a story behind the villain or the monster or the creature. We're not quite sure what this is, and it could be anything. But from what I have heard from the book, it is obviously some type of demon or spirit that can shapeshift into people's worst fears. And it basically, although it does kill adults, its main source of food, you know, and victims are children. And to lure children out, it obviously transforms itself into that of Pennywise the clown, which is a interesting way to bring children into it, gain its trust, and then snatch those children away. I'm not sure when Stephen King had written this, but I am positive that, you know, in the back of his mind, he must have been thinking of John Wayne Gacy, the serial killer, when he was developing this idea of Pennywise the clown. Because as everyone knows in real life, he was a serial killer, John Wayne Gacy, that had dressed as a clown, actually performed as a clown at children's birthday parties, and then later abducted them. So, you know, this is, you know, along that same lines, but like I said, this is a shape-shifting demon of types, of sorts, that goes out and hunts down these children. And it's fabulous in that respect. You do get a sense of the lore. This movie is about 2 hours, and they do a good job of doing the lore that in this town of Derry, this fictional town of Derry that looks like the Midwest somewhere, you know, a small town that, you know, 100 years ago when the town was formed, the founders of the town apparently made some type of contract with this demon or, you know, or something like it, because all of them vanished, the founders of this town, after basically what seems to be founding the town, maybe signing their souls to this town. And every 27 years, this creature, this clown, comes back and takes so many children, so many people as its food source, and then, you know, feeding off both their flesh and their fears. Mainly their fears is what it seems to desire, you know, to give it its energy. Maybe just the normal substance and tastiness from the flesh itself. But, you know, I can't really go into that. But, you know, it is an interesting movie in itself, building up this myth and this lore. And, you know, maybe the miniseries and definitely the book goes into this much, much more. They do a fine job glossing over it in the 2 hours. So that is a good thing. It gets you interested, and just enough to okay, this is where we're coming from, to tell you the backstory. So again, this is a shock a thumbs up. Now, some spoilers, or at least what I felt a little let down with, was that, you know, a year ago I had seen Stranger Things, and I had known that it was an homage to the 80s, homage to Stephen King, but I did not realize that it was so much based on it. So you might be a little disappointed, especially with some of the jump scares and a lot of the build-ups of this movie, having seen the entire season 1 of It on Netflix, with season 2 soon to come out here in October, for Halloween, I believe. So because it centers around 7 children, whereas in Stranger Things it was a group of children fighting or finding out about this supernatural being and, you know, having to come to grips and face it and confront it and ultimately defeat it. And which is the exact premise almost of it itself. Now, it came out first. It was the originator and has been duplicated in so many other movies. The jump scares, all this, you know, the building of some mysterious history within, you know, a small town that has been lurking, some evil lurking for years and years, and everyone just chooses to ignore it other than to face it until our small party of heroes comes and have had enough and must deal with it. Many movie tropes have dealt with this. So again, even though this came first, you might be a little disappointed that, oh, you know, I've seen this story before. I know how it's going to play out. And it kind of does do that. But they do it very well, so I don't think you'll mind too much. It's still a shaka thumbs up, even though it may seem like a duplicate of other movies and especially Stranger Things. You know, it's, you know, just don't lose sight of the fact that this one came out first via the book and even the TV miniseries before Stranger Things, before Annabelle, before, you know, all these other movies that seem to take on this type of entity that our heroes must face. All right, so again, this is Trinidad, the Island Man, your Island Man, given a shaka thumbs up for it. Definitely go in and see it. Full price if you must, but of course, best on the discount days, you know, either at Consolidated or Regal. So it will likely clear $100 million this weekend. Again, now that has to do both with the quality of the movie, but also the fact that there was no other large movies that had opened this weekend. And I think the audience was obviously hungry for movies, since last weekend was pretty dry as well. For the holiday weekend, there were no large major releases, just holdovers from last week. You know, there were several smaller movies that did open up, you know, but again, they being smaller, they did not hit all the theaters. Same thing with this weekend. There are some other smaller movies that I want to see over at the Kahala that have not been released anywhere else. You know, as of yet. Maybe next week they will be, but so it pretty much had, you know, it was the only show in town essentially at your big major metroplex. And so that definitely plays a big factor into the millions of dollars that it will make over this weekend. All right, thank you so much. Again, shaka thumbs up for it. And this is Trinidad, the Island Man, your Island Man, giving you an aloha for the weekend.